because this is one of the topic, I mean, gets in the complexity really. Okay. So far we have been writing all the SQL statements, right, in the query window here. We have a query window and we are writing all the statements here. Now, when you close out this query window, everything is gone, right? Unless you save into the file or something like that. But think through, if you are writing a Java program or C#, like a web application type of thing, right? You can't really use these statements, right? If you close, because these statements are not accessible, whatever you are writing here, they are not accessible from any program, C#, Java, .NET, whatever. So you have to write the stored procedures, okay? Those stored procedures are nothing but, they are more like objects within the SQL Server, similar to the tables that we saw, right? We created tables. You can create a stored procedure. And any SQL statements you write, they are actually stored into the database, basically. So let's go back and if I want to convert this into a procedure, right? How do I go about it? So I write the statement to create the stored procedure object into for the SQL Server. Now you guys remember the DDL statement, data definition language statements. What are the 3 commands that we can use to create any object? Remember the database, the table we created. What are the commands that you utilize? So you had to create, right? Then if you want to change something, you have to do alter, and then you do drop, right? Those are the 3 basic commands. Since the stored procedures are SQL objects, you have to utilize the same commands in order to do that. So how do I wrap my statements? If I want to store this into SQL Server database, so I create a procedure called create procedure, and let's say I want to give patient insert or whatever, right? Or create patient. How about let's just go create patient. So what I have here is, this is the command and this is the name of the procedure that will be stored. And then there is it follows certain syntax, right? So this is one, then I have as, and then I will have begin, and all the way at the end I will have end. So all my statements are wrapped into the procedure. Okay. So this is how I can do it. Now when you do that, right, you need to execute in order to create the actual object, right? So I can go and click on execute here, and it says command completed successfully. So if I close out, let's say I close out, right, and I don't want to change anything, it's gone, right? I can reopen it since it's object. So here we know about tables, but now the procedures are stored under programmatically folder, then the stored procedure folder. Okay. And then I'm going to see my create patient procedure. Okay. And I can, just like tables, right? I mean, I can select it and I can right click on modify. Okay. And it will open up my procedure here. Okay. So my procedure statements are stored within the SQL Server. Now if I'm using a Java program C#, they can call my procedures and actually create a web application and all those front end using these procedures. Okay. Now when you do modify, right, SQL Server automatically adds the top portion, right? I can remove it so that I can just clean up. Now modify is alter, right? So it will automatically put the alter statements for you. Okay. And if you want to change anything, you can just change it, something like that, maybe add a comment, insert into patient, whatever. And if you execute, your change will be saved again into the database. So if you open next time, right, I can go back, select it, create patient, do modify. Okay. So again, I'll get this thing, I'll get rid of it, and my statements are there. Okay. We talked about, do you guys understand what I just did here? Let's go and do one more. Okay. So remember these statements here, right? We have this these statements, search criteria, the small script, right? How do I wrap that up into a procedure and store it into a database object, right? So again, I'll go back here. What is the first thing I need? Create procedure, right? And what is, let's say I put like find a patient by last name, okay? I just give some name, some meaningful name, okay? Then I have to follow the syntax as begin, right? And all the way at the end of the procedure, I'll put end, okay? So my procedure, what the begin and end does, anything that's in the middle, those are the things will get stored. So if you have any other command here, like select star from patient, they will not be stored with the procedure, okay? Anything in between begin and end, those are the only things will be stored, okay? So let me go and execute this command, this statement. So I'm going to select that, click execute. My command completed successfully. And on the left side, I have to go programmatically, right? Store procedures. And here I don't see it, right? So what do I need to do? Refresh. And hopefully I go back and I'll see my procedure here. Let's see why it did not store it. Right? So I selected the master database. So it went into the master. So I have to make sure I select the right database. I'm going to execute again. And let's see, refresh. Yep, so my procedure is there. Find patient by, right? Now you don't have to open, okay, or that way. When you are modifying, right? First time it already created, you can just go a change to alter. That's it, okay? That's that, and any change you make, it will be saved afterwards, right? So then my change is saved. How do I know it's saved? So let's go back and reopen it. Right, and my change, you will see it here. Okay. Do the junk thing, remove it. Okay. All right. So you are defining or storing. All it does is you store the statements into a database, right? That is the first step. Now the important part is how do we call these statements again, right? You're not gonna open this one. So there are ways to execute these statements, okay, for you. So if I want to call the, let's say I have this procedure stored, right? And let's get rid of some of the things. Let's simplify. So how do I execute my find by, how do I run all the statements that I have? So there is a special command called execute. Okay, within the SQL server, so you can do something like this, and in your command window, and you click on execute or whatever F5, then I'm going to start seeing the result from the procedure. So it will trigger all the statement top to bottom in the procedure, and it will return the results for you. Now, why do I'm getting this one? So let's go back and look at our statements here, right? So what are my statements here? So this is my script. Say select, declare search criteria, right? Set search criteria equals %T%. Select star from patient, well, legal last name like at search criteria. Okay. So if I run these statements, it's going to return me the same result that I got by executing the procedure, right? You guys understand, right, what this script does? Okay. So if you change something here, right, E to J, I should find anybody that contains in the last name anywhere in the J, right? That's what it does, right? So Kathy and those two guys. So once I make a change, right, I just made a change, and I'm going to basically execute or store it, the procedure. Now, if I run this statement again, right, what should I get? Same result, the Kathy and those two records, right? I'll get the updated results back, right? So that's kind of like a power of the procedures. Okay, you can store the SQL statements, uh, the script into database, and anybody who has access to the database, they can go and execute, right? Including the third-party programs, C Sharp, Java, all kind of programs. They don't need to write anything over and over again. Okay, you write once and it's available. Okay. Any question on this one? Yeah, they are always in the database. So anybody who has access to, let's say you wrote it and Obed needs it, right? You'll go and find your procedure and he will execute it. That's it. So he will get the same result. So it's kind of more like a sharing thing as well. Because right now what you are writing is only you are available on your computer, right? With all the statements, whatever statements I write, it's only on mine, unless you store it in the database. Like this thing, right? If you don't have access to my computer, you cannot even share that unless you send it in the email. But once you store it, and let's say you all have access to same database, then that is available for everyone.
So when no one started the class, let us create the database.
Right.
And later you provided us with one. So the one that we created, that's how you execute to.
That's right. That's right. Yep. That's correct. All right. So let's go back here. Okay. So we talked about the create, alter, and those statements, right? This is kind of like a syntax that I just showed you. Create procedure, whatever the name. We haven't talked about these parameters yet, right? How do you pass the parameters and those things? But this is a syntax that we follow, right? Without parameters. Okay. Then we have a search procedure, right? So this is our search procedure. We wrapped up basically into the search patient procedure, and you can execute it something similar to this way. Okay. So why don't you guys go ahead and work on this small exercise here, these two small exercises, okay? This create patient and search patient procedures, okay, on your local machine, and see if you are able to execute it. Learn some basic commands, right? So I think it's page 51 or 52 on yours. 53, okay. Yeah, mine is a little bit different, but it should be same. Create two procedures, basically two separate ones, right? That you have, patient and search patient. And this thing actually you can copy whatever script you wrote earlier, right? You can just copy the insert statement, right? And just wrap it up in the procedure. Yeah.
It showed in the other window. You know where we have
It doesn't matter. You can have multiple windows open. Here, right? You are saying it's stored in the other window?
no, no, sure. Yeah, not that.
Yeah. It's stored or did not see it?
You should.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's good. Then you can, if you want to modify, you can just go and modify, open this one again, right? Say modify.
I mean, when I modified it, instead of showing on the right, it showed there. That's
Um, oh, it's stored over there for you. Okay. You can drag and drop. Those things, just it's a trick with the tools. So